Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muliwanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy and so honored that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show, your kids' teachers, librarians, and principals, and please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Stitcher Radio, wherever you get your podcasts. Our guest today is Dora Endre. She's here to celebrate Magical Meadows. Before we invite Dora into the studio, we want to invite you and your family to take part in a lookbook scavenger hunt mission to make life and learning fun for everyone. Scavenger hunts are a wonderful way to increase retention and enhance problem-solving skills. Looking for ways to connect with your children? Slow down and look at the ordinary things around you in a brand new way. The Lookbook Scavenger Hunt series is an open-ended activity to spark conversations with your kids. Your kids can take the lead in learning as they hunt for objects that are hidden in plain sight. You can share this experience together and build connections that last a lifetime. And the latest book in the Hometown series brings attention to the importance of caring for our natural world, and it can be completed anywhere in the world. You're going to love this. I love this series. It's written by Barbara Tibbetts, and you should get your copy today. The Lookbook Scavenger Hunt series by Barbara Tibbetts. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Simple Words Decodable Chapter Books. From a very early age, Chetan Knebel's son had a passion for books. Unfortunately, reading did not come naturally to him. In 2015, at the age of 6, he was diagnosed with dyslexia. With training, he soon began reading simple words and sentences. One night, he picked up Hop on Pop by Dr. Seuss. He read the entire 160-plus words over and over. And then he asked for a chapter book. Cheatham Googled, talked to experts, teachers, tutors, and parents to find low-level, high-interest books. She knew others were in search of these books too, but they simply didn't exist. So she began to write for her son, and he began to read. And Project Simple Words was born. We believe that the right book gives kids with dyslexia the opportunity to experience a love of reading and enjoy a chapter book without the tears. You can learn more about this fantastic resource for families struggling with dyslexia by visiting simplewordsbooks.com. Join us right now from the beautiful nation of Hungary. Our guest is here today to celebrate her brand new children's book. It's called Magical Meadows. Please welcome to the show, Dora Endre. Hey, Dora, how are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm doing wonderfully.
I really appreciate it. Dora is up quite late right now. It's about 1 or 2 a.m. where she is, but she says no problem. She's a night person, so I'm excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us all about Magical Meadow, please.
Well, it's a children's book. It's an activity book, and it's also available as a Kindle ebook. It contains a lot of old school rhymes and a lot of little mindfulness exercises that are simple yet, I guess, useful, like mindfulness walks and awareness practices for kids. I guess it's just so important to introduce children to all these like breathing techniques and mindfulness walks and simple yet very, very, very useful exercises as early as possible. My starting point for the book was Mother Goose Tales, which is a French collection of fairy tales from the 17th century. I used to have it as a kid, and I loved it. And it was all old school rhymes, little poems with morals, and these really eclectic illustrations, and not surreal, different textures, weird, crazy characters. And I remember flipping through it a bunch of times a day and just enjoying the fact that I could create my own stories based on those little stories. It was so vivid, it was so colorful, and it was so exciting. Yeah. So yeah, that inspired me to do this.
You mentioned something about being inspired by those fairy tales, those nursery rhymes, and the illustrations. You're right. Experiencing somebody else's creativity gives us a license, gives us permission to be creative ourselves.
Exactly. And I think as a kid, when you are, 5, 4, and you can't read, just seeing those characters so colorfully on a page, and also having those short rhymes that you could learn easily, that you can get into with your grandparents, and together you can really delve into that world. I think that's just something that stays with you, and it's so simple, yet it's, so memorable. So yeah, I think, being inspired as a kid is
You mentioned the term mindfulness walk early on in our conversation. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means?
It pretty much means that wherever you are, it can be your living room, it can be your garden, it can be a park. You are walking, but you are experiencing your surrounding with more awareness, which means that you're conscious about your body, how your feet move. You're conscious about the breeze on your skin. You're conscious about warmth or freezing cold that surrounds you. You pretty much, bit by bit, pay attention to your sensorial experiences. And you obviously observe the beauty of nature or your kitchen that's filled with sunlight. But while you are doing that bit by bit, you're also relaxing. You are relaxing into the moment and you're experiencing the moment. So you get focused on things. It's about focus. It's about relaxation. It's a soothing little exercise. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depends on your schedule. As an adult, it's also really useful. So it's just a great exercise. I love to do it myself. Mm-hmm. Wherever I have time, or wherever you are. If you're walking to, a bus station, mm-hmm. If it's 5 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm almost 100 years old, so a lot of this mindfulness stuff, my
that's a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
my instinct when I hear a lot of mindfulness stuff, it's immediately like, oh, this is all woo woo. This is out there.
Oh yeah.
And I try to have an open mind. And as you're speaking about a mindfulness walk, I'm remembering when I was an athlete and playing soccer or football, as they speak about it in Europe, practicing being aware of my peripheral vision, being aware of everybody that was around me. And that's really what we're talking about, just becoming aware. And if there's anybody out there thinking, well, this is kind of too woo-woo for me, it's like, no, you did it as an athlete. You might not realize it, but you did. And it was very helpful for you. And it's really something that's helpful for our kids, just to be mindful of their surroundings.
Exactly. Yeah. So it can be such a simple thing like taking a shower and experience the warmth in the shower. It's wet. It's water on your skin. There's a candle that's lit in the room, and that's it. You're not thinking about anything else beyond that moment. Mm-hmm. Pretty much that.
Yeah. How did you, because becoming mindful, there's a discipline that kind of goes with that. You just don't wake up and like, oh, I'm mindful. I'm aware of everything that's around me. You have to, it's intentional. And I mean, that's the whole thing about being mindful, is being intentional. How did you get to the point where you were able to be intentional and train yourself to be mindful and present?
Strangely enough, I think COVID was a big element to that. I think experiencing that isolation and then having all that time for yourself, you have to figure out how to deal with yourself, how to be good into staying alone. And I think also the fact that I've been doing a lot of meditation, even prior to COVID, it just led to the fact that I wanted to be more conscious about those tools. How can I use it in my work as an artist? How can I use it as a stress person these days? Mm-hmm. How can I use it when I have a lot of time on my hands and I'm alone? So how can I use it just to, relax easily? I have 15 minutes and I'm walking. How can I feel better by the end of that? So, I think all those little elements just got together at one point, and then I started digging into mindfulness, as you said, with more intention. Mm-hmm. And more focus.
It's interesting you mentioned, walking to relax, or as I'm walking from one thing to another, just using that time to relax. And I think that something very valuable that we can help our kids learn how to do. We've talked a lot here in the podcast about kids their lives being so structured, and they're going from one thing to another. And there's so much stress put on kids these days. And, I'm hearing about these kids, 5, 6, 7, 8, 19 years old, dealing with anxiety. I don't think I've ever heard the word anxiety when I was that age. But our kids are dealing with it. And I would really love for us to try to help our kids become less structured. But until that happens, maybe we can teach them how, when they're in the car driving from one activity to another, to take that time to de-stress and relax, or when they're walking from one class to another, to be intentional, to take that time to relax.
Exactly. I think it's about those 5-minute breaks also between activities. Even for me, when I was just now preparing for the interview, I had a few minutes off, and then I would just do a quick breathing. Then it just relaxed. So it's such simple things. For kids, obviously, there's way too much going on. So I agree with you. It would be much better to just throw half their duties out the window and let them enjoy being kids. But if they have a lot going on, then they need something. They need tools. I think we're talking about tools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I just had this weird memory. When I was transitioning from working in human services to becoming a performer myself 30-something years ago, I had a job working in an after-school program. And this program was the kids would get out of school, get on a bus, come to us, and just jump right into another very structured setting. And the first change I made was just first 15 minutes when the kids get here, just let them run around. And the people that I was working with were horrified. What do you mean? These kids can't be trusted to do something on their own for 15 minutes? And I'm like, well, there's 5 adults watching them. They're not going to burn the place down, but they can run around and be crazy and just be kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was the same.
You, in addition to being a children's author, or I should say, this is now in addition to many other things that you do. You're an artist. You're a director. You're basically a storyteller that's telling stories through a number of different media. How did you discover that you had this passion for telling stories?
Well, I think it goes back to reading those fairy tales the first time. Probably that was it, with my grandma, or sitting at the fireplace and really reading together with my family and watching a lot of cartoons and then discussing what we can see. Also, I remember with my mom, whenever we were bored with watching something, instead of just watching it, we would start a dialogue. We would write dialogue right on the spot. We would make it funnier. We would make it more interesting. We would come up with characters. So I think that's how it started, and just Muppet and things like that. And I guess it all goes back to just telling stories and having a vivid inner world as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Now, how much different was it writing a children's book as compared to directing a stage show? I imagine the one big difference is you don't have to deal with actors.
I wasn't having a stroke. That was a major difference. It was a lot more peaceful, I would say. I like that because it was going back to my roots and just writing short poems, which I guess is probably the starting point for any writer writing short stories or short poems or just coming up with funny characters or coming up with something crazy. So it was playful. It was very playful, and it definitely had a good impact on my creativity. Just going back to being a kid and thinking about stories as a kid. What would I like to read if I was 10 years old?
Yeah. Well, I have to. You're the only director that's in front of me right now, so I'm going to apologize to you, to all the directors that I've given strokes to because it's always they're just like, can't you follow? No, and they just give up and they go, look, forget about the script, just. Kind of, can you start here and end here? I don't care what you do in the middle, just don't hurt anybody. And so I know that I've caused a lot of gray hairs and strokes over the years. So I want to apologize to you on behalf of all those other directors out there.
I don't think that you've hurt anybody or killed anybody. I hope not.
I don't think so.
I hope it's not that extreme. Yeah.
Probably not. Now that you've had this experience writing a children's book, is it something that you hope to do more of?
I think so. I love the experience. I love talking to people about it. I love talking to you right now. But it's also the fact that I can see that, schools start to use the book next month. So there's definitely demand. There's more and more schools that are open to have those alternative classes or these sorts of materials built into their curriculum, or just talk about relaxation, talk about the breathing exercise, or ask the kids in the morning. I love that. One of my friends who's a great mother, she started doing these little gratefulness exercise in the morning with her kids. Just when they wake up, she would ask the kids, what are the 3 things why you are really grateful for today? Is it your favorite toy? Is it your breakfast? Is it sunshine? And it's so simple. And that's really happiness, being a bit grateful for what we have. Mm-hmm. So I love that. I love those. It's 5 minutes and it changes your day. Yeah.
It really does, and we've talked a ton on the podcast. I mean, there's scientific evidence. I mean, scientists have done extensive research, and they've proven that people who live gratefully are healthier. They're happier. I always figured they'd be happier, but to see that they're actually healthier, that they can endure pain better, it's just mind-blowing. And if we can sit down with our kids and just help them learn to start every day by taking that 3 minutes, 5 minutes to sit back and to think, I'm part of a loving family. I get to eat this morning. I'm going to learn some new things. This is one, and it can actually change their whole outlook for the day.
Exactly. And it's really such a short period of time, and it makes all the difference. Yeah, it's biology, it's hormones. Mm-hmm. That's how we work. If we are more grateful, then everything is better. Also, there's this great little other exercise for gratefulness. Use noises. For instance, anytime you hear a honking car, you think of something that you are happy about. Like, you can use negative noises as well and transform them into a sign for you to think about something that you love about this day.
Wow. That's really clever. Boy, I could have used that when I lived in the inner city and thought of something grateful every time a car alarm went off at 2 a.m. Hey, Dora, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we're talking about gratefulness. What are a couple of things that you're grateful for?
Oh, family, friends. I have wonderful, really supportive people around. So definitely a home, safe home these days. I think that's something to be really grateful for. Nature. I love there's little forest in Hungary where I live. There's nice parks around my neighborhood in New York. Small things really. I just had some nice dinner. I'm really grateful for it. So it's day by day.
Yeah. Yeah. I do educational magic shows here in the States, and one of the things I do, we take out some beads and ask kids to hold them, and I ask them to think about something that they're grateful for. And when my son actually helped me develop this 10, 15 years ago, and he goes, Bob, you're really taking a risk, because you ask a 13-year-old what he's grateful for. You never know what they're going to say, and they could say these really cool. And I have to tell you, doing it for 15 years, 200, 250 times a year, all that time, 99.9% of the kids are talking about being grateful for their family, for their friends, for their home. Really simple, loving things. I've had maybe 3 kids say something obnoxious and rude in those years, and that's okay because they just look silly. Yeah, but you're right, and I think it's I think when we're helping our kids appreciate the blessings that they have in their lives, we're giving them a gift.
Exactly. No, I agree. It's such small things.
Yeah.
Also, your body, it works. We are healthy, relatively healthy. That's amazing too. There's so many things going around us these crazy days. So there's so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I want to take this. We talked a lot about kids who want to be artists or want to be engineers. I don't think we've ever, and we've asked our guest experts, what kind of advice do you have for an aspiring artist or aspiring engineer? But you are a director. You're working with actors. What advice do you have for any kids who may be aspiring to go into the theater?
Start today. They don't have to dream about it.
Mm-hmm.
They can come together, even if it's a kid at home. You can dress up today. You can create your own character today. We used to get married with my best friend. We would every weekend we would get married. That was our thing. We had that. Then I turned into a witch. Then I would run around just pretending to be a witch. I was writing little, spells and cursing. That's fine too. So start today.
Yeah, that's great. I was afraid you were going to say, forget about it. Don't do it. You're going to be a waiter and waitress.
Oh, yeah. No.
This is fun. And it's interesting. You'd get married and then you turn into a witch. That would be pretty scary.
It doesn't happen in real life. It does, actually. Especially after 20, 30 years.
No. I've been married for 33 years, and my beautiful wife is still beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yes, I am. I'm blessed. Tell everybody, please, where we can go to find out more about Magical Meadows and also find out more about you, because there's a lot going on in your life.
Yes, so I have my website, doraendre.com. That's the best place to go to. And then the book is available on Amazon and on Bookline in Europe. So you can find stuff there. On my Vimeo channel, there's short movies, commercials, music videos. There's one short movie that's coming up next week. So that's going to premiere there.
Wonderful. We've had a really fun time talking about mindfulness and a brand new children's book called Magical Meadow and a lot of other stuff with our guest, Dora Endre. Dora, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having the time. Thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Steve Metzger. He'll be here to celebrate the Bumble Brothers' Crazy for Comics graphic novel. It's a really fun conversation. You don't want to miss it. Hey, you also don't want to miss an opportunity to connect with us on social media. At least I hope you don't want to miss an opportunity to connect with us on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. At Reading With Your Kids on Instagram and TikTok. We have a great Reading With Your Kids channel on YouTube. We have a great Reading With Your Kids page on Pinterest. And if you're on Twitter, please be sure to connect with us at Jedley Magic. We also want to invite you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Sign up for our free online magazine. It's coming in December. And also, please be sure to use that contact button at the top of the page to let us know what we're doing well, let us know what we could be doing better, and let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the podcast. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Dora Endre. Please be sure to check out Magical Meadows. Also want to thank our sponsors. Please be sure to check out simplewordsbooks.com and find out all about their decodable chapter books. Great resource for families who has a kid struggling with dyslexia. Also, want to invite you to have lots and lots of fun with your family by picking up a copy or two of the Lookbook Scavenger Hunt series by Barbara Tibbetts. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Jordan Saley, Mirabella Q, Skylar Strauss. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.